Hello everybody, it's the Historical Gamer once again, and today we're returning to Rule the Waves 2, a new game out by Naval Warfare Simulations, which puts you in the shoes of a admiral of the fleet or a naval secretary during the era of great power politics, starting in 1900 and running through 1955. We are in episode number 5 of this series. We're playing as Italy, and we have just gone to war with the Austro-Hungarian Empire. And so with the war against Austria-Hungary, let's take a look at the almanac and kind of compare our strength of forces against the fleet that we're up against. We fought one minor battle with a largely indecisive result. It was a victory for us, but no ships were sunk. And so let's take a look at the disparity between forces. So Austria-Hungary, another Adriatic power, along with Italy. You can see they have 4 battleships numbering about 43,000 tons, so that's just over 10,000 tons per battleship, not quite 11,000 tons. You compare that to our battle fleet, all of our battleships are at least 14,500 tons, so our ships are 3,000 or 4,000 tons heavier than theirs, and we have 3 more of them. So we have 7 battleships in service against their 4. They're building 0. We are actually building 4. 3 are currently under construction. 1 is paused. So we have a huge advantage in terms of battleship strength. Armored cruiser strength's a little bit different. We have 12. They have 11. So we have a slight advantage there. If my math is right, we also have a slight advantage in terms of tonnage per cruiser. It looks like they've got like an 8,000 and some change ton cruiser, and we have a 9,000 ton cruiser. So they're probably pretty comparable, but we have 1 more. However, they're building 3 new ones, and we're building 0, so that will change at some point depending on how long this war goes on. In terms of light cruisers, we have 15, they have 15. Both sides equal in light cruisers. Theirs are of considerably heavier tonnage, so their light cruisers might actually outclass ours or be faster than ours or what have you. I'm not sure. We have 40 destroyers. They only have 25, so we definitely have the edge in terms of the light forces. And we have 30 submarines under construction. They have 1 submarine built, but none are actually under construction. Additionally, they have 8 corvettes with 19 more under construction, so we'll probably need to build some corvettes in order to deal with some mine warfare activities. Moving on, additionally, do we have any information about their ships? It looks like their ships max out at 11-inch guns. We have up to 12-inch guns, or actually 13, but all of our ships have 12. All of our battleships have 12-inch guns. So we'll have an advantage in terms of caliber on our largest of ships. Trying to see, do we have any information about their ships? Did we actually sink a heavy cruiser of theirs? I can't remember. We might have sunk one of their heavy cruisers. At least that's what we're claiming, and the ship sunk, so that reduces their strength by 1, although the almanac is what they have now. If we go in here, we can see their heavy cruisers tend to have a speed of between 18 and 21 knots. They tend to be armed with 9-inch guns. We have 8-inch guns, but our quality 1 8-inch guns are better than a negative quality 9 8-inch guns, so we might have an advantage there. Additionally, their 9-inch guns, they only have 2 of them, and we have 4 8-inch guns on our ships, so we have more firepower. Their secondaries of 6-inchers might actually be better than ours in terms of our ships. We have 16 5-inch guns on our heavy cruisers, and Austria has 14 6-inch guns. So somewhat comparable. They might have a slight edge there. They have 8 6-inchers on their light cruisers. We only have 5-inchers on our light cruisers. We've got 12 of them, though. So these will be some interesting differences between our designs. They tend to go slightly heavier caliber on their light cruisers, but fewer guns. We go more guns, but lighter caliber. Also, understanding the technology difference there, our caliber 5 are 0, so if they're negative 1, we might have an edge there. Additionally, they have a couple of more modern heavy cruisers. They've got this, which is basically like a dreadnought design for their heavy cruiser, 8 6-inchers in double turrets. So the Marburg class is actually pretty interesting. Not very fast. Apparently either only 18 or 22 knots, depending on the intelligence report, which one of those is correct. But an interesting sort of gun layout. So their battleships are 9 and 10-inch guns. And that's kind of all the information we have. So with that being said, let's do one other thing here. With the war getting started, let's go ahead and design a corvette. Auto-design the corvette. And you'll see here, mainly this is going to be for coastal patrol, so I don't even know if they carry torpedoes. They really don't. The corvette is primarily kind of like the Minesweeper was in the old version of the game. I don't think Rule the Waves 2 has Minesweepers, but it does have corvettes, which kind of function in that role, per my understanding. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to assign some corvettes, or a corvette design. They're going to be relatively cheap. It's overgunned. Displacement of... So... All right, let's lower the gun caliber to 4 inches. Then that should make things better. It looked like the 5-inch gun was too much. And then, do we want? Can we carry mines? Does it give us an option to carry mines? Mine sweeping gear, check. Mine warfare, we don't actually have that yet, or we can't put it on this ship. So we have minesweeping abilities there on this ship. Might as well, can we shrink the tonnage by 100? We can. And that'll save us 18,000 per turn of construction. We can't shrink it further, though, unless we make them slower. All right, so it's going to be 23 knots, 400 tons, 4-inch guns. A displacement of 500 tons is recommended for 5-inch guns. Okay, fine. We'll do 500 tons and 24 knots. All right, so we'll do 500 tons, 24 knots for the Adeline class, Adelina class corvette. We'll go ahead and save the design. And she's going to be our coastal patrol ship. So we need 11 trade protection ships, so we're actually going to build 12 of these things. Actually, I can only build 10 at a time. So we're going to build 10 of these things, and then we're going to build 2 more. Actually, let's build 4 more, because our coastal patrol requirements will go up as the war continues. 2 MS, I don't know what that means. In any event, it's going to take 11 months to build these guys. We're going to pause the second of the butcher classes, so the Gilo Cercia or Cesare and the Leonardo da Vinci are both currently paused. They're both 2 years away. These battleships, I mean, the war very likely will be over before these battleships arrive. These are kind of our Semi-Dreadnought battleship class, 4 12-inch guns with 14 8-inch guns. So a very heavy dreadnought or pre-dreadnought class ship. But we're going to go ahead and pause. We're only going to be building 2 of these, so we can afford to build these corvettes. And actually, we can really only. I'm going to halt this guy too until I'm going to have the Butcher and the Conti de Cavar both sync up in terms of their construction time, so they should come online at the same time. And it'll buy me a little bit of extra money if I just pause the Conti for 1 month, and then we'll kind of go ahead and resume it. So that's our fleet right now. We do need 11 ships in trade protection for the moment. So we're going to go with our older destroyers. We have 15 more destroyers than the enemy, so assigning destroyers to trade protection should be fine. All right, so... Ooh. Active. All right, so we've got 11 ships on trade protection. That gives us some anti-submarine warfare capabilities as well. I don't really know what these numbers mean. Total value of ASW ships and air, so 44/0. I don't know what the negative 770 means. We're currently winning the war in terms of victory points, so you win wars based on victory points. And then what we're also going to do in order to lessen the likelihood of a war breaking out against another power is we're going to go ahead and we're going to lower our intel efforts on all these other countries to low, because obviously anytime one of your spies gets caught in another country, there's a risk that that can cause an international incident, which will lead to a war. And we don't want to invite anybody else into a war with us. So actually, the countries at the highest, with the highest level of tension will remove intelligence altogether, so that should help. Tension is 50? You can go that high? That'll remove the likelihood of any spy being caught in the U.S. and France and Germany, and then a very low likelihood of that happening in Great Britain or Russia. Also doing that will free up quite a bit of money for us. I think that's like $700,000 more per month that'll free up for us for our shipbuilding, so that's a good thing. The one thing to keep an eye on is our unrest level is at 4, which is actually kind of high, so we do need to be careful about that. Meanwhile, we've got our trade protection ships set up. I'm also going to do some cruiser rating with some of our ships here. So the Katina class has 8 5-inch guns, and they make 23 knots. Their speed should hopefully help them be decent commerce raiders. So we're going to go ahead and set these guys to raider. They also have slightly better range, I think. Well, they're not short-ranged. So we'll set those 4 light cruisers to commerce rating, and then we'll also set maybe 4 of the Marco Polos to commerce rating. So 4 heavy cruisers, 4 light cruisers on commerce rating, although it looks like these guys all need to... oh, no, they're all set to raider. R is for raider. Okay, so we've got 8 cruisers on commerce rating in the Mediterranean against the Austrian-Hungarian Empire, and then we have 11 destroyers on trade protection, and then we have the rest of our fleet is currently just operating in the Mediterranean. Nobody is anywhere but the Mediterranean, so all of our orders have our ships currently in the Mediterranean. If we take a look at the map, that should be okay, though, because Austria-Hungary doesn't have an empire. The only place we might need to move troops or ships to protect our empire is the Indian Ocean because of Italian Eritrea. But the Mediterranean covers all of the rest of our bases, and maybe they're in Northern Europe. Where is there? Is their build zone considered in Northern Europe? Is that true? No. Build area is the Mediterranean. Okay. So that's good to know. All right, well, that's weird. The boxes don't quite overlap. But in any event, we're going to go ahead and we're going to begin the war against Austria in earnest this turn. So let's go ahead and move forward to the second month of the war, which is September of 1904. There's a rebellion ongoing in the Marshall Islands. Research is making our submarines' reliability better. Austrian raider C.L. Novara sinks 1 Italian merchant ship, so that gives them 5 victory points. And there is a battleship engagement with Austria-Hungary, location near Dalmatia, battle size large. Our own forces in the area, 1 battleship, 11 heavy cruisers, 15 light cruisers, 39 destroyers. It's saying they have a battle cruiser. I don't know if they have a battle cruiser. I haven't seen anyone develop that. That would be weird if they have an actual battle cruiser. So potentially, anyway, we'd have 7 battleships versus their 5 or 6, maybe, if that's what this other BC is actually misidentified as. 11 heavy cruisers versus their 7 light cruisers. No heavy cruisers there, so maybe that's actually what the battle cruiser is. 15 light cruisers versus their 7. 39 destroyers versus their 25. And 1 AV, so 1 seaplane tender. That seems wrong. Flight hasn't even been developed yet. The Austrian Navy actually declines battle, and we get 750 victory points. Italian ship Cantina intercepts an Austrian raider trying to run the blockade. So, B. So, War B. That means we have sufficient naval power to blockade Austria, which, if we're blockading Austria, that actually means that I'm assuming their economy, their unrest, all of these other things occur much more quickly. And so the longer we can keep them blockaded, the better. And so that's obviously good for us in terms of winning the war. Also, interestingly enough, this map here of Southeastern Europe does not reflect Austria-Hungary existing. You have a modern interpretation of that map. So the borders here obviously don't reflect the Austro-Hungarian Empire. So let's go ahead and fight the battle with... All right, so our ship in this battle is the Katina. She is of the Katina class, so she is the namesake of the class of ships, and she has 1 battle star. She fought in that first battle. 8 5-inch guns, all in turrets, 10 3-inch guns in its secondaries, and 6 torpedo tubes. Not a ton of ammo per gun. Is that 140 per gun, maybe? Okay. Six torpedo tubes is good. 23 knot speed, I think, is the max. 2 rangefinders. No log entries yet. 2.5 inches of belt armor. And it's our only ship on this battlefield, so we are going to be commanding her directly. Meanwhile, she immediately spots an enemy ship at moderate range here. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to accelerate her to maximum speed, 23 knots, and then we're going to go ahead and we're going to investigate. It's claiming it's another light cruiser. We'll see if we identify it as a light cruiser. It is an Admiral Spawn class light cruiser, and we've opened fire on the enemy light cruiser. So you can see here, it looks like this may be a running gun battle. We're trying to close the range with the enemy. Got to make sure, hopefully we don't get hit by torpedoes. We're kind of in a chasing position, so we're going to use the majority of our ammo up on our forward guns. You can see here on the left side, it kind of is going quick, but we are getting some reports of hits on the enemy ship and perhaps our own. Remember, we don't have a true like super firing turret setup, so the enemy could potentially take advantage of having us be on one side of the ship the whole time and running out of ammo, or chasing them in a stern chase where our forward ammo would get used up much more quickly. But this is kind of a weaving action here, so I'm just kind of hitting select and kind of trying to chase the Admiral Spawn. It looks like it's getting later in the day. The weather's maybe getting worse. I'm not really sure. It looks like actually the weather is overcast, dead clouds, range visibility is 3,500 yards, and we may have just lost sight of the enemy. They may have snuck away. Oh, nope, we've got them again. So go ahead and move this back. That's not a battleship. It's got to be the same light cruiser, right? How do you not know what you're shooting at? Yeah, okay, it's the Admiral Spawn class. Okay, scoring some hits there as we kind of close in here. Problem is, with range like this, really the battle will be decided if either side gets a lucky torpedo hit. I'm trying to like hope that my guns can slow the Spawn down by doing some damage, but it doesn't seem like we're getting a lot of hits. You know you get a hit by either looking on the left side, and you can kind of slow the combat down or pause things or whatnot, or when you get like a little red dot that appears on the ship icon itself, that indicates that you scored a hit. In this weather situation with the visibility, what it is, and the fact that I think the enemy cruiser is slightly faster than us, it's going to be difficult to catch or chase them. But it looks like we took some damage so that we're down to 18 knots. If I go over here and take a look at the Katina, you can see we have 1 star worth of damage, a moderate amount of flooding and structural damage, 1 turret's out of action, a reasonable amount of ammunition used up. We are claiming 11 hits scored. We suffered, well, 10 of those were our secondary guns, it looks. No, 11 hits on with our main guns, 10 with our secondary. We suffered 12 medium hits and 23 light hits, so we actually suffered 35 hits to the 21 that we're claiming we scored. So I'm assuming this thing's over, unless we just stumbled into them in the night. But cloudy weather, so no rain, and night. Okay. So it's an Austrian minor victory. They did more damage to us than we did to them. We only put light damage on their light cruiser. They put medium damage on ours. So to me, that kind of says that their light cruiser might actually be a slightly better design. The Novara is the enemy ship here. 5,300 tons, so it's about 1,000 tons heavier than ours. Carries 6-inch guns with its main battery. All appear to be in turrets. Secondary guns are 3-inchers, so that's about equal to what we have. Does it say what the speed is here? They only have 2 torpedo tubes. Oh, they have 22 knots. So we actually have a slight speed advantage at flank speed, but once we started taking damage, things evened out quickly. So a minor victory for the Austrians there. They get a very small amount of victory points, and we suffer our first, I guess, defeat. The turn was still a victory, though, because you'll remember the Austrian fleet declined a fleet battle, which gave us 750 victory points. Presumably, we had them blockaded. They had the option to try and break the blockade, but they elected not to, which gave us a lot of victory points, because obviously, when you're blockaded, that can lead to other problems in your country. Although Austria being a land-based empire, I don't know if there's like a difference in the impact of a blockade on England, for example, versus Austria, especially in a Europe when The other continental powers are all at peace. It's just us at war. So presumably land-based trade is available. I don't know how deep the game goes into those considerations, but it is something to think about. All right, so we are into September of 1904. Our submarines are actually almost all ready to commission. Looks like they're all ready in 1 month, which is going to be a great shot in the arm to our commerce rating, because even if our cruisers aren't effective, our submarines certainly will be, especially operating in the Mediterranean, all short-ranged. That's all big advantages there. Our corvettes are under construction. They're 10 months away. Our battleships are going to resume here. So our 2 battleships of the Butcher class that have 19 months left are going to resume since we got the Conti to 19 along with the Butcher. So those will both resume. We've got 24 months on each of the other Butcher class ships. Those will remain paused for now. And you can see here our monthly balance is in the red, but not too disastrously. We will be able to afford to build the rest of these ships at our current balance of our budget without slowing any other ships down. Unrest is still 4. Not really anything else to worry about this turn. Almanac. Nothing's changed here. Okay. What's this? Torpedo tech. They have a research advantage in torpedo technology? That sucks. Triple turrets. I think we have triple turrets too. Yeah. Their current base resources are 11,994 with 100 from possessions. Our base resources are actually higher. We're actually a richer nation than them. Their dock size is bigger than ours. That's interesting. I thought our 20,000 was in really good shape, but it looks like everybody's pretty much to 20,000 now. All right, well, let's move forward to the next month, the 3rd month of the war. There's a rebellion in the Marshall Islands. That has nothing to do with us, though. Meanwhile, we commissioned 30 submarines, and immediately on commissioning, one of our submarines, the Belia, torpedoed and damaged an Austrian battleship. Nice. A coastal raid near Dalmatia. All right, so it looks like we have a major battle on our hands. We have a destroyer flotilla and 2 heavy cruisers of the Lumbara and Umbra class. Those are our 2 newest heavy cruiser classes. And then we have a cruiser division in the front here with a bunch of destroyers. So that's the situation right now. We also have a light sub back here. And apparently we've got a battle division back over here, but it's not under my command. So there's coastal forces here. Oh, those are batteries. There's an Italian support force, which consists of the battleship Benedetto Brin and some additional destroyers. Hopefully that doesn't mean we're against enemy submarines, or sorry, enemy battleships. We'll see. So we're going to set our squadron to max speed, both of them to max speed, and then we're going to go ahead and get underway. We'll see if we detect anything. Are there any objectives here? Sink any 2 enemy ships. Any 2 enemy ships. So we're going to go for a Spalato. Looks like night is falling. Okay, so those light cruisers sailed out of sight. Then they retreated back to us. When ships are out of sight, you can't command them. You can only command, in my current setup, the ships under your command that are in sight of your flagship. Unknown ship spotted. Who knows what that is? I don't like that it's so close to my heavy cruisers, though. Looks like they're heavy enemy ships. Claiming 2 heavy enemy cruisers. Why are my other ships retreating? I'm actually going to order my destroyers in on a flotilla attack because it is currently at night and the closest you can spot an enemy ship is 4,500 yards. I think ordering a flotilla attack might not be a terrible idea. to see if we can get some torpedo strikes on these enemy ships. You can see they're kind of coming after us. I'm trying to run away a little bit. And the heavy cruiser St. George kind of charged forward. Now it's retreating. Our destroyers are moving forward in on it. Enemy heavy cruisers hit by a torpedo. Yes! The flotilla attack might have worked. Torpedoes are basically how you sink ships at this era. So one of our destroyers is sinking. But if we actually sink an enemy heavy cruiser, that's definitely a price worth paying. Because, yeah, right now the armor layouts on ships in general are superior to ships' ability to penetrate armor. So basically, you're much more likely to basically do superstructure damage and slow ships down with gunfire, but torpedoes are really the best way to actually sink an enemy ship in this era. Enemy cruiser St. George is hit by a torpedo as well, so that's 2 heavy enemy cruisers. I didn't see what that second pop-up was, unless that was another torpedo hit on it. So this heavy cruiser up here has been hit by 3 torpedoes. Our heavy cruisers are burning through their ammo at a prodigious rate. Oh my god, another torpedo, another torpedo. She is going down for sure, guys. She's dead. Just let her sink. She's going to die. Interestingly enough, she's still making way, though, along that coastline. How about you guys finish off the Idara class? There goes the St. George. We'll assume she sank in shallow water and maybe some of her crew was rescued. It's not really modeled in the game. Crew rescues are modeled in the game, but like sinking in shallow water and running aground aren't. The Idira is dead in the water. There she goes. Our destroyers came in and followed their orders and threw a torpedo into her, so I'm assuming she's going to sink now too. Again, dead in the water, not moving. All right, so we sank 2 heavy enemy cruisers, which allows us to achieve our mission objective for this battle. It was a coastal raid, and we also sank 2 heavy enemy cruisers, which is a huge victory, assuming we don't lose any additional enemy forces. Oh, shit. I don't think that's a battleship. I think that's a heavy enemy cruiser. But if we sink 2 heavy enemy cruisers, I mean, that's a big win, I think, for us. So I'm actually going to fall back toward Italy, because I don't want to risk losing more ships. We lost a destroyer. The enemy lost 2 heavy cruisers. That is a huge victory for us. I don't know what this enemy ship is over here. Wait, AMC, we want to get that. That's an easy target, usually. Anything we can do to get more victory points. It's a small merchant. So we got 2 heavy cruisers now, and we just got a merchant. Sank very quickly. And now we'll sail back to Italy. Victorious! The Horatio Nelson of the Italian fleet. Perhaps. All right. So the Stokers are exhausted because we've been at flank speed for so long, and we're going to return to Pescara. Someone just ran aground in the darkness. I don't know who. So, shit. We lost 1 destroyer sunk and another heavily damaged. I'm guessing that's the one that ran aground. An Italian major victory. So they did get a bonus for having 3 surviving merchants, but they lost 2 heavy cruisers sunk, 1 with light damage. They also lost 1 auxiliary. We lost 1 destroyer and 1 destroyer heavily damaged. That's almost a 10-to-1 difference in terms of victory points there for that battle. Huge win for us. The heavy cruisers that we sank, what are they? The Maros and the Schwarzenberg of Austrian Heavy Cruiser Division 1. The Maros is a Idara class heavy cruiser. These are these heavy cruisers that are 8,100 tons. They only have 2 main guns. They're 9-inch guns, and they have just 2 of them in single turrets, 14 6-inchers. And so she was sunk, as well as the Schwarzenberg, which is actually a St. George class. but also is a very similar. That's a very similar design. I wonder if the speed, or there's obviously some minor things that are different somehow. The 14 6-inchers versus the Schwarzenberg only has 5 5-inchers. So the Schwarzenberg has a smaller secondary battery, but the main battery is the same. So those single turreted heavy cruisers for them didn't pan out very well in this battle. Our double turreted heavy cruisers did well. Our battleship didn't engage, and our destroyers really hit the hell out of them with torpedoes. And that is an advantage of the night. So if we had fought that thing in daylight, that battle would probably not have unfolded in that way, mainly because those types of battles, you have to be really, at this era, you have to be very close to the enemy ships in order to hit them with torpedoes. Torpedoes don't have very good range yet. So you can see here there were some additional Austrian ships all along the coast here. It's sort of representing Austrian commerce in and along the coast. You've got destroyers, you've got corvettes, you've got transports. We had a lot more ships we could have sunk, but we were basically out of ammo, and at that point a major victory was worth it. If we were to push our luck, it would have just likely ended in more risk at losing some ships. So Italian major victory gained 1 prestige, 2,500 victory points, and 433 victory points for the enemy. A big victory for us. The Battle of Dalmatia, I guess, is the name of it. We will actually call it the Battle of Torpedo Alley because we had so many torpedoes strike home. Yeah, so we sank an AMC, we sank 2 heavy cruisers. We have intelligence that Austria is building a 9-inch coastal battery in the Mediterranean. The British are increasing naval spending to maintain their preeminence. Did tensions inch up this turn? I'm not sure. I can't really tell. But we're now at war for 3 months. Austria-Hungary is still blockaded. The Almanac is telling us that their heavy cruiser total dropped from 12 to 10. They are still building 2, but they have 2 heavy cruisers under construction, and they have now lost 3 heavy cruisers in this war. The Adar class was a new design of theirs, designed in 1902, and the Kaiserin und König and the St. George class both are older designs, and those are their losses so far. So about 24,000 tons lost for them. Our only loss so far is the Corazzarii, one of our turbine-class destroyers. She makes more than 18 knots, doesn't she? Oh, it said 18. Maybe I misread that. In any event, major victory for us, gives us a prestige point, allows the war to continue somewhat successfully at this stage, and apparently our naval budget must have gone up. Oh no, all of our submarines finished construction, so now we have a lot more money to play with. And because of that, we're going to go ahead and resume construction on our 2 battleships. We can do that for at least 2 months with our current budget. Meanwhile, our submarines are all ready for action. Reliability is 46, so it's not great. But we're going to go ahead and we're going to send the submarines on unrestricted submarine warfare. We'll see how that plays with the other countries. There is a risk in this game. If your submarines, there's sort of an event where they can sink neutral shipping, and if they do, then obviously that risks sort of a World War I Germany situation where they sink American ships and bring America into the war. You can definitely bring another country into the war against you if your submarines sink the wrong ships, but submarines are vastly more effective with unrestricted submarine warfare, and so that's what we're gonna do for the moment. Go ahead and save that. Now, actually, if we look at the Almanac, are they building any subs? No. Interestingly enough, they're not. So we have 30 subs in service. They have 1. That should give us a big advantage. Again, we're building the 4 battleships, 2 years for 1, year and a half for the others, and then 9 months on the corvettes. So, with that being said, the Battle of Torpedo Alley was a success. Enemy heavy cruisers aflame and sinking, and the Austrian Navy's ability to field a strong fleet further reduced. With that being said, guys, I think that's going to do it for this episode, so I'm going to go ahead and sign out. Hope you're enjoying this series as Episode 5 comes to a close, and until next time, this is the Historical Gamer saying thank you for watching, and I'm out.